Kim Jong Un says North Korea's will for denuclearization remains, quote, unchanged, according to the country's state-run news agency. The remarks come after a meeting with Russia's foreign minister. Meanwhile, in New York, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo told reporters real progress has been made to revive the U.S. summit with North Korea. On Friday, the focus shifts to Washington and a personal letter from Kim to President Trump. Margaret Brennan is following the talks.
It could be nothing short of tragic to let this opportunity go to waste.
After 4 hours of meetings and a steak dinner with a top aide to Kim Jong Un, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said he was still not sure if the June presidential summit would happen.
Don't know. Don't know the answer to that. We've made real progress in the last 72 hours.
Tomorrow, Kim Jong-chol, North Korea's 72-year-old former spy chief, will hand-deliver a letter from the North Korean dictator to President Trump, a reciprocal message to the one Pompeo brought to Pyongyang earlier this month.
So I look forward to seeing what's in the letter, but it's very important to them. So they'll be probably coming down to Washington, D.C. on Friday.
A White House visit will be a propaganda win for North Korea. The last such meeting was in 2000 during the Clinton presidency.
Hopefully we'll have a meeting on the 12th.
Today, President Trump lowered expectations for the proposed summit.
It doesn't mean it gets all done at one meeting. Maybe you have to have a second or a third, and maybe we'll have none. But it's in good hands. That I can tell you.
Diplomats gathered at the DMZ say progress is slow-moving as they try to hammer out what North Korea is willing to give up in exchange for sanctions relief and security guarantees. President Trump has personally promised not to carry out regime change.
The real threat to their security is the continued holding on to of that nuclear weapons program and not the converse.
Face the Nation moderator and CBS News senior foreign affairs correspondent Margaret Brennan joins me now. All right, Margaret, I realize none of us has a crystal ball. Nevertheless, what are the chances that this meeting will happen, this summit will happen on June 12th?
They are moving full speed ahead when it comes to the planning. So President Trump clearly wants this to take place, but he did lower expectations not only for the summit, whether or not it happens, but whether they can achieve anything at just one meeting. He said today it may take 2, it may take 3 rounds of talks here. So we know Secretary Pompeo has gone back to Washington and he's going to meet with the president and talk through the options. Of course, we also have to see exactly how the delivery of this letter from Kim Jong Un goes once his top aide delivers it to the White House.
And describe for me the significance of that.
Well, it's interesting to first of all, see this top, former spy chief on U.S. soil. He's under U.S. sanctions. This is someone who is responsible for the deaths of many U.S. allies because of the downing of a South Korean ship. But he is moving from New York to D.C. and going into the White House. The last time something like this happened, which is a big propaganda win for North Korea, was about 18 years ago in the Clinton administration when they were also trying to broker a diplomatic breakthrough, one that ultimately didn't denuclearize North Korea, obviously, because they're farther along now with their program. So this is a win propaganda-wise for North Korea. It's still not clear what the U.S. is going to get out of it, whether they get the summit, whether they get any kind of promises for North Korea to actually dismantle their nuclear weapons program.
Meanwhile, you have the Russians saying they are going to actually be meeting their own summit with North Korea following a visit by Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov. So could those talks impact what the U.S. is trying to do?
Yes, because Russia, remember, is part of the UN Security Council. They have a say in whether new sanctions go on or whether sanctions come off of North Korea. So they're a player no matter what. But this is interesting to see Russia's top diplomat, Sergei Lavrov, there meeting Kim Jong Un. They're saying this is not just the U.S. warming up here. It's interesting positioning for Kim Jong Un. Ultimately, he could be putting his own country in a better position because he doesn't look so isolated right now. Everyone's flying in to meet him these days. Vladimir Putin, they're talking about coming and having a summit, as well as President Trump. So that maximum pressure and isolation campaign looks like it's getting peeled back, and he hasn't done anything yet.
Well, that's the thing I wanted to ask, because so you've got Russia, you've got China, you've got South Korea with more friendly postures towards North Korea. Where does all that leave the United States? And in terms of leverage, what does that mean?
Well, that's one of the things that was interesting today was Russia, in their public messaging, said they do think sanctions should come off North Korea before it fully denuclearizes, kind of a step-by-step program, which is something that the Trump administration had said they didn't want to see. They want all of the concessions before they give a payoff. Now Russia, now China, now South Korea are saying, well, maybe we do this piecemeal. And that means that that alliance that the U.S. had built up of global pressure is getting weaker.
All right, more to come. Margaret Brennan, thanks so much, Margaret.